Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and this is another movie review, and I'm really excited for this. It's a bit delayed. I didn't get to see this movie when it was out in theaters. I was really busy, so I had to wait until it was out on streaming. But it's out, and I finally watched it, so welcome to my review for Scream 7. Scream is one of my all-time favorite movie series, and it's one of my all-time favorite horror movie series. I have already reviewed all the other Scream movies on this channel, so if you want to watch that, the link for it is in the description. And I have a lot to say about this one because it's a very unique one for me. So this little intro is going to be spoiler free, and then after that, that's just basically going to be my quick general thoughts. After that is going to be my spoiler discussion, my spoiler free discussion, a little bit more in depth with what I think about the movie, and then I'll just give spoiler talks, which will help flesh out my overall thoughts on it, and you guys can see the timestamps below. So I don't want to take too much of your time with it because there isn't too much to say that's not spoilers. So just the quick general thoughts of what I thought about it is that I'm very mixed on this movie, because it does so many things right and then so many things that makes absolutely no sense, and I was just shocked by a lot of the choices that they went with because it really was it just really made no sense. So I'm a bit mixed on it. I like, because of the amazing things on it, it really saves the movie, but then all of the way that things are handled later on in the movie really brings the movie down. So it's not in my top three Scream movies, maybe in the top five, mostly just because of the good things that it does. Um, if you see my other reviews, Scream 3 is my least favorite due to how a couple of things is handled. I would say Scream 3 does a couple of things a little bit better than this one. But this one still does most of the things better than Scream 3. So I would say it's about tied with Scream 3 as my favorite, or sorry, my least favorite. Um, but only because of the good things that it does, because it saves it. So those are my quick thoughts. Really, I would give this one, if I had to give it a ranking, I would say maybe a 5.5 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. I did actually write the ranking, I just completely forgot which one it was. But it was definitely that, either a 5 or a 5.5 out of 10. So those are just my quick general thoughts. If you want to stick for my more in-depth thoughts on things that I liked that's not spoiler filled, I'll be going into that now. If you don't want, that's fine. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you liked that intro. But obviously now we can go more in depth with the spoiler-free section of what I thought about the movie. So all of the characters I thought was mostly good. Tatum, Sydney's husband, and the twins from the previous two movies, they're all here. So I like that a lot because their dynamic was actually really cool. Gail is back, and they do a really cool, like, post stress, PTSD, with what happened in one of the previous movies. They touch on that a little bit, so I really like that. They focus a lot on her, being able to get something that she's wanted for the past 30 years, which I thought was really cool. They really focus a lot on how she sees certain elements of things during this one particular scene because she explains a lot of things. I thought that was really cool. And of course, though, then the focus is on Sydney and her family, and they're being attacked. They're the focus point of the movie. And I thought that was really, really cool. I thought that was really well done because it puts a new layer into Sydney dynamic. I mean, last time she was a focus, like a main focus, was in Scream 4. That was mostly the last time she was the main central focus of the killing. But I just think that in this one it's a lot more personal, and I think that this one's probably the most personal attack on Sydney. So I thought that that was really well done in how they handled that, and also just seeing her develop as well over the years. Because, like, again, the last time she was a big focus in these movies, she was taking phone calls at a support center, and she has all of these lockdown and protection systems in her house, and now she's in a different house, and you see that she's not as paranoid or uptight, but there's still a little bit of that paranoia in her. So you do see that she's grown a lot, but at the same time that she's a bit more still a little wanting to be protected. So it's a really good development in how they handled her. Her relationship with her husband, they have really just one sweet scene together, but then the other scenes is just them rushing and trying to be okay. uh, but they work really well together, so that was actually really cool. I think this is the first time we actually meet her husband. We hear about him in the previous two movies, but this time we actually meet him. And as for Tatum, her daughter, this is also the first time we meet her, and honestly, I thought they did a really good job with her. The actress I thought was just okay, but the character herself I thought was really well done. I did like that a lot. And then, they kind of wrote out the other kids, the little kids from the story. They put them in, like, visiting the grandparents or something. So we don't get to see them, but we hear them, which was nice. And really, just Ghostface himself in this movie, he's got some pretty cool moments, especially the scene where he's infiltrating their house. I thought that that was really cool and one of the best Ghostface scenes that we've had. Uh, so, yeah, I thought that that was really good overall. And a lot of the filming, too. Like, this movie has some really nice shots and filming overall with it. So I really like that a lot. Now, those really I can talk a little bit more about without going to spoilers, but how they handled Sydney and how they handled the lifestyle there, her relationship with Gail and the twins from the previous movies, they are all interacting with each other and it works so good. A lot of the chase scenes was really good. A lot of the, like, there's this attack on the bar scene, without spoilers, that was really good. So there's a lot of really cool moments in this movie where they really focus on putting them intense moments. So I really like that a lot. There's also an attack inside of Sydney's shop because she has a coffee shop. That one was done really, really, really cool in how it was implemented and using modern day technology. And that was also another thing that I really liked with this movie is the modern day technology stuff. Because, it's not going to be a spoiler. They say this within like the first 10 minutes of the movie or so, or like 15 minutes. But AI is kind of a focus in the movie, AI and deep fakes and things like that. Um, so I don't go into spoilers with that, but they do something really cool with it, and I loved how that was implemented. That was so cool to see. Um, but overall, though, like, it's just really, really cool. And also, the trailer shows Stu's house burning down, and I thought that that was going to be towards the end of the movie, but it wasn't. It was literally the opening of the movie. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh wow, they saved this big thing. I thought it was going to be towards the end, but no, it's here in the beginning. Like, this is going to be serious. And it was like a big, like, captivating hook for the movie. So I really like that a lot. Um, and I just thought it was done really, really well. Now, the biggest complaints that I have with this movie, which really brings it down, I can't go too in detail in this particular section. I will in my spoiler section. but I they didn't take as much of a advantage as they could have with the AI implementation. They should have done more with it. It should have been a lot more creative, a lot more deep fake creations, a lot more CGI. Like they really needed to use more of that. What they did was cool, but they needed to do more of it, and I'll explain why in my spoiler section. And then really, what really brings down this movie is the killer. Uh, I just it made no sense for me. Again, I'll go more in detail in the spoiler section for that, but the killer really just made no sense. It was horribly written. There was more emphasis on so many other people being the killer, and the way that the killer reveal was done was also just why, like why was it done here? Also, people keep getting really brutally attacked and they survive. Even the killer, multiple times, this killer gets shot in multiple ways, but they survive. Like, I know that this kind of has been a thing with the past two movies, but out of all of the seven movies, this is where I think it was most exaggerated. Um, so I thought that that needed to be tweaked a little bit. But yeah, just overall, the killer in this movie, for me, my least favorite out of all of the Ghostface killers. Um, and also just how this particular killer is and the killer's motives. That, like, the killer's motives is what makes even less sense. It was shocking. Um, so that just really brought down the movie a lot. And again, it's not something that is easy to explain without giving spoilers, because then it's just going to sound like I just didn't like who the killer was and I was thinking it was going to be someone else. But no, there's like very specific reasons why this killer makes no sense at all, which I'll be talking about in the spoiler section. Um, now, as for really the biggest shock with that is that I believe that this movie was written by the writer who wrote the first Scream movie. And again, that movie is basically a masterpiece, so I'm shocked that he wrote it this way because it makes no sense. So thankfully, and also like the way that it ends too, it just kind of ends. And it just kind of like makes you keep wondering, like, they what, like, is there going to be something else about this? Because the killer just makes no sense in what they were doing. I think that it just needed to have something else be present. So it's like, is there going to be something else? I don't know, but they did at least confirm that Scream 8 is in development. So I'm excited for that. And I just hope it's going to be a lot better than this movie. But that's it for my spoiler free talk. Because again, really all that's left to say is my thoughts on the AI implementation and about the killer itself and the motives of the killer. Um, but yeah, so that's gonna be in this section now. So if you guys don't want to hear any spoilers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy that. And with that said, now let's jump straight into the spoiler section. So for the AI implementation, I loved that it was bringing back Stu and kind of playing with the fan theories, like, is Stu alive, is Stu not? So it was really meta in that way. And Matthew Lillard is an amazing actor, and it was just so cool to see him come back for this movie and just going crazy with it. I love that. Um, and it was so good. Now, one of the biggest things about this movie is about a focus on family and facing your past, and like the past coming back. So they did play around a bit with that, with like burning Stu's house and then having Stu come back, and then we find out later on, unfortunately, that it wasn't Stu. It's that he's actually dead, but that it's a deep fake of him and a AI implementation being added in. So I like that. I thought that that was still respectful for the character. It still allowed Stu to come back, like the actor Matthew Lillard, and it still gave fans like that kind of hope that they wanted to see. So in a way, kind of just like with Scream Six, how I always wanted them to have like a cult of ghost face killers. We kind of got that in Scream Six, so I was really excited about that. It wasn't done the way I really wanted it to be done, but it still was done pretty good. Um, so fans wanting Stu to come back, well, we got that. Not the way that it was, but we got that. And I also read that they did actually film a alternate ending where it's revealed that Stu did survive. I think that would have been amazing, and honestly, it would have been a better twist and a better revelation of the killer than what we got. But before we get into that, the AI implementations that I didn't like is they could have done more with it. They could have shown Tatum in school walking and Stu like behind in front of her, like calling Sydney. And that's the thing too. Like Stu just keeps saying, "Oh, I'm not hiding anymore." Like the movie just starts so good. It's just like it's putting so much tense moments on it. Like it was just so well done. And then like, but they could have done more with the AI. They could have shown Tatum in the back and Stu recording her like in a park saying, "Oh, Sydney, who's this? Like, do you see that person behind me?" Like they could have done something like that, and then had Sydney go crazy to that location and find no one there, and then panic, and then show like a real footage. It's like, "Oh, you thought that that was your daughter? No, she's actually in her room, and I'm looking, through here." Like that's what I mean. They could have done so much more psychological manipulation and attacks on Sydney with this kind of technology, and it was just so, like, it was nicely done, but it was also so badly implemented because they didn't take the full advantage of this kind of concept that they could have. And in previous series, they always did take almost full advantage of what they were trying to show with the technology in place. Like, look at Scream 4, look at, Scream 5 and 6. The modern day elements was always an important factor into the story, and they did use that to their advantage a lot. Here it was really mostly just for fan service of getting Stu back, but yeah, they could have done so much more with this. So that was my complaint with the implementation of this. Now, as for the killer, oh god, the killer in this movie, it's cool that we get 3 killers, but one only has like 10 seconds or no, like 2 minutes of screen time. He doesn't even talk. He doesn't, and for me, he was the most brutal one because he's the one who attacked Sydney in her house, and that scene was amazing. So that was wasted, but it's okay. We have 2 other killers, so I didn't mind it too much. But when we find out that he's integral to the story and the plan of the killers, it's kind of just like this guy did nothing. He didn't even talk. He's literally there for 2 minutes. Yeah, he was a threat inside of the house for that one scene, but that's it. Like, it's something that really needed to be expanded on more. And then they play around a lot with maybe Stu is alive, maybe he's not, outside of the deep fakes and AI stuff. So there's like, they go to look for his body to make sure that it was sent to the morgue, and then they found out that the body kind of disappeared. So it's like, okay, so where is the body? So there was just so many moments in this movie where the writing seems to indicate something, and then it just gets tossed out, and it all comes down to the killer. Honestly, the movie makes it almost seem like Tatum could be the killer because she has anger issues for her mom, and her mom refusing to tell her anything about her past. So it's like, okay, why? Maybe Tatum eventually found something, and learn about Sydney's past in a bigger way than what the movies show. And Tatum wants to end everything because, again, that's the focus of the movie, to end everything, to burn down the past, to just end the killings. That's kind of what the marketing materials and the start of the movie and most of the hints in the movie kept implementing. But what we ended up getting is that she's not. She's just angry. And then they implement, maybe it could have been her husband in how he was in some ways. There was like a couple of points here and there where it kind of felt like maybe they were trying to make the husband um, be a suspect. And then maybe some of the friends, Tatum's boyfriend, but immediately it's like, yeah, this guy's not the killer. Um, but they really try to make it seem like he was. Like, even the school play teacher. The school play teacher literally walks up to Tatum after the killings start and all of that. And he goes, "You know, Tatum, you should be having more of a fire like your mom used to when she was your age." It's like, okay, how does this guy know that? Right? Like, how does he know about Sydney when she was in school, in high school? So it's like things like that, and then they focus on him in the shot, and he's just looking very serious right after the attack in Sydney's house, and like then he's just tossed away, and they do that so many times with a couple of different characters. Mostly it's Tatum, like the scene right before the bar scene. Um, they put a curfew, and Tatum tells her friends, "Yeah, I can't go because my dad won't take me, but I know a way that I can show up there." And the very next scene is Ghostface attacking Sydney's husband and basically almost killing him. And then the scene after, everyone goes to the bar and Tatum enters there too. So it's just like, wait, so is Tatum the killer? What did she do to try to, you know, navigate her dad allowing her to go or not realizing that she went? Because the way that the movie's set up, it's kind of like implying that she might be the killer or one of the killers. And it's not the only time, again, it's not the only time that there's evidence for that. So even before that, and yeah, from that point on, that's where that like you end up dropping Tatum as a subs I cannot say this suspect. Um, but before then, there was a lot of things that could show that she could be the killer. So it's just things that really made no sense. And when we finally get the revelation about the killer, that didn't make sense too. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, and then, it, like, they really just set up Tatum, Sydney's husband, the play guy, even Stu being alive, or maybe even Stu. Well, they don't play with Stu having a twin brother or anything like that. That was one of the theories people were having about with when it was announced Matthew Lillard would come back. But even that would have been a better revelation than what we got. So I just felt really disappointed that all of the better and more logical and better implemented scenarios was completely tossed out for something that makes no sense. So again, one killer I already talked about. The other killer is someone who, well, the first killer that dies, he was actually taken, he was in a psych ward. And when Sydney and Gil go there, they end up talking with an employee of the psych ward. The dude is there for like 5 minutes. I even forget he's in the movie, but then it turns out that guy is one of the second killers. And it's just, it makes no sense. And then, but okay, fine. But he's not the big mastermind of it, so who is? It is Sydney's neighbor, who we only see a few times, and who's only ever there to help Sydney rant, and who constantly yells at her son, who she kills, but who constantly yells at her son for being obsessed with Sydney, which the movie tries to make you think that he's possibly the killer as well, which was obvious that he kind of wasn't. So, but yeah, it's his mom because apparently she's obsessed with Sydney more than her own son, and even though she never shows that before, because turns out she read Sydney's book and her husband was abusive, and by reading Sydney's book, it kind of motivated her to kill her husband. And then she ends up getting depressed when she finds out that Sydney wasn't in New York in Scream 6, and then commits herself into a psych ward, and then meets the two guys there and makes a plan to buy a house next door to Sydney's house and to befriend her and then kill everyone in front of Tatum so that Tatum could be the new final girl. And I'm just thinking, like, what is your plan here? Like, obviously, yes, she has some issues, but it's just, it makes no sense at all. Like, she kills her son because he reminds her too much of her husband. She wants to kill Sydney because Sydney wasn't a survivor because she wasn't in Scream 6. And that made her go crazy. But then the way she says it kind of makes it seem like she orchestrated the events of Scream 6 to try to kill Sydney. But, because then she says, when she's there going on a rant, and she says, and then in New York, you weren't there when you were supposed to be. And it's just like, okay, so wait, did you orchestrate that in New York? Like, it was just so confusing how they handled this character. And then she just starts going on a rant and wanting to make Tatum the final girl, which makes no sense at all. Like, she wanted to kill everyone in front of Tatum and just have her, like, be there, survive. But then it's like, what is your plan after that? Because they want Tatum to survive. They just wanted to traumatize her. Which, okay, that's cool, of a new concept in the series. It wasn't just about killing, it was about creating trauma. That was a cool new addition to the series. But it's like, why, like, why were you thinking that was going to be an easy plan? Like, you reveal yourself, you kill everyone there, and then you let the girl go. What do you think is going to happen? That girl is gonna go tell the cops and you're gonna get arrested. Like, what is your plan for the next steps after Tatum survives? Like, where's the logic in this plan? And even burning down Stu's house, it gets it brought up like 2 times very quickly in just a quick throwaway sentence, like, oh, hey, Sydney, did you hear that Stu's house burned down? And then a few minutes later, oh, here, officer, here's the notes on the Stu's house being burned down, and then they never touch on it again. So it's like, what is the point of that? And then there was so many moments where it's just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, the killer who is in Stu's house that burns it down, he somehow replaces a dummy with him, and it's a automated dummy, but the characters are just literally in the next room. So where did he have time to pull up this huge robot and put it somewhere in the span of just like 4 minutes? Like, it just, without like the robot not, being easily visible, like, that didn't make sense. Then the killer, I forgot her name, I'm sorry, Jennifer, Stephanie, I forgot the main mastermind killer's name. She gets shot like 100 times and still survives and starts going after them. And yeah, it was just, there was just so much that didn't make sense. I like that she wasn't connected to Sydney's past, but then why was the entire movie focusing on throwing away the past, ending the past so that things can continue? Like, yes, for the main killer, she wanted to let go of her husband, and that's why she killed her son. That's why She wants to create, a new final girl, but it's not really explained. Honestly, like it makes no sense why she did that, and how did she even get a house literally next door to Sydney and buy that house? Sydney's house looks like it's a very expensive house, so how did she just casually go and buy this house next to Sydney's house? So that's what I mean. Like it's just things that makes no sense, and it really just frustrated me in how all of this was written and implemented. Um, it's just it was just yeah, it was not written well with the killer's situation. I don't mind that the killer wasn't originally connected to Sydney. Um, I just think that the killer's motive, what they originally try to establish throughout the entire movie, like you barely even see this lady. She's in the movie before the big reveal, maybe for a total of like I don't know, like 8 minutes or something, and she barely says much at all. Like it just it made no sense because it was so badly explained and really I just think that it needed to be worked on a lot better, and it's kind of sad that the original writer is who also wrote this, and it kind of just seems like he didn't care about that um with the killer revelation. So that was just really upsetting overall for me. I think they could have just done a lot better, but I'm not going to go into another big rant with this. That's just my general thoughts. That kind of just really brings down the movie because, again, the killer is the essential part of the entire movie because you're trying to piece together, find the cool clues, find out what's going on, find out the motive, all of that. And then when all of that just gets thrown away and the actual motive and everything makes absolutely no sense, it is just disappointing because then that just kind of affects all of the other elements of the movie because it is a murder mystery. So, yeah, that just really needed to be worked on. But again, what the movie does right, it does so good. And it's just such a huge polarizing movie overall. But that's it, guys, for this review. Let me know if you've watched Scream 7. What did you think of it compared to the other ones? Um, do you agree with my points in this movie of how this particular character was badly written as the villain and the villain makes absolutely no sense? Let me know what you think overall. Again, they could have implemented it a little bit better by giving her more screen time and making it make more sense, but it just wasn't. But let me know your thoughts. With all of that said, rate, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.